Yeah, I think it's an appreciation for every soul. And that, when you're on stage and you speak on the stages we speak on, and Nathan used to say, isn't it amazing that we get to speak in front of thousands and tens of thousands of people, and then we get to go home and be with our family, and it's quiet. It's not some LA Hollywood kind of a story, but we have a way of having the time and the leverage to be able to manage those areas of life. It was just this sense of compassion, Eric, for people that struggled. It was a sense of empathy. It was a sense of bringing more reality to exactly what you just said. The words that follow I am is what follows you. And the world is stuck. And what I've been able to work with some of these people that go through addiction recovery is they're stuck in thinking that they are what they used to be. What I've changed my paradigm to believe is that where I'm at in my present completely changed when I made my future bigger.
Eric Worre here. Welcome to the Excellence Project. And today I have an old friend, been involved in the network marketing profession for a very long time, 4 decades. And we're going to talk about a lot of things regarding how to have an emotional breakthrough that can help you have a stronger business and a better life. So his name is Dan McCormick. Like I said, he's been around a long time. He's a good friend. I think you're going to enjoy the conversation. So with no further ado, let's jump right into my conversation with network marketing legend, Dan McCormick. So Dan McCormick, how are you, sir?
Eric, I'm doing fantastic. It's great to be with you, all of your friends and audience around the world.
Well, my gosh, how long have we known each other?
I want to say sometime in the 2008 timeframe, maybe earlier than that. But I remember us getting together. I remember us. I think I came to an early event in the Bay Area. I recall.
Oh my gosh, that very first where we recorded the first little GoPro 8 CD series, but back when we had CDs, aging ourselves a bit.
And then you interviewed Nathan. And then you had
Nathan, the legend, Nathan Ricks. I drove through the sleet and the snow. That was the very first Network Marketing Pro interview at
you went to his house in St. George.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Sat in his study and we had a great conversation. What a legend. Gone too soon.
Yeah.
Super, super sad. But if anybody knows who Nathan Ricks he was just a giant in the network marketing profession, just did an amazing job for decades and tragically passed away in an airplane accident, an airplane crash. And he's missed, but his legacy lives on.
Yeah,
through people like you and many, many others around the world. So Dan, how long have you been involved in network marketing?
It's been a long time. My wife and I yesterday celebrated our 41-year anniversary of being married. So a year before that, I got started in August of 82. So I'm in my 42nd year.
August of 82.
Yeah.
That's like 3 years after I graduated high school or something.
Yeah. It was like 1 year after me graduating high school.
Oh my gosh.
So, times have changed.
So, and has it been the same company the whole time?
No, it's been 3 companies primarily. Where I met my wife was, obviously one of the biggest giants in the world, and right place, right time, marry your upline. And it was a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So when did you ultimately land with the company that you're with now?
Let's call it 23 years ago.
Okay. 23
I met
years.
Nathan. Yeah.
Nathan, and Nathan's a persuasive individual.
He is persuasive. He's intense. He was, just iconic. Yeah.
Professional. I want to get into some of the lessons that you learned from Nathan and some of the lessons that you learned about our profession along the way. But I'd like to, I'm always really interested in origin story.
I love
it. So where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Seattle, Washington. I grew up in a single family home. My job started in like 6th grade. I would ride my bike to the Seattle Supersonics Racket and Health Club.
When you say single family home,
Yeah, just my mom and my brother and I. My
Okay,
mom is a single mom,
so single parent.
single parent. Yeah.
Okay. Your mom and your brother growing up in Seattle, and you used to ride your bike where?
I used to ride my bike to the Seattle Supersonics Racket and Health Club in Bellevue. It was about, 15, 20 minutes. Of course, depending on the wind and the rain and the sleet and the hail and all the stuff that we like to talk about. That was my first job. That was where I really started at $2.35 an hour. That was the first time for me to start finding mentors in my life, learning from people, being around professional athletes. And that was really the genesis of all my connections and work ethic and
How
mentors.
old were you?
I was
How old were
just
you at the time?
12 years old.
12 years old. So they were willing to employ you at 12.
Yep. Yep. I would literally sweep the tennis courts. I would, clean the toilets, empty the trash, do anything I could in that tennis club so that I could afford to be there because it was $20 an hour to play. And that was the game that I wanted to pursue. And the only way I could afford to be there was to get a job there because I got to be able to work for hours and trade for court time. And that was an incredible place to start.
So you wanted to be a basketball player?
It was a tennis club with the Seattle Supersonic basketball gym practice facility was there. And then we had racquetball courts, and then it just grew into it ended up becoming over the years, it's the official gym for Microsoft.
Wow.
Massive.
Wow. So your early aspirations was sport related.
Yes. Tennis was my thing. Tennis. I strung tennis rackets. I built tennis courts. I played tennis. I did everything tennis.
And when did tennis start? How early?
Just prior to that, 11, 12, I grew up living part-time with my grandmother as my mom went to work. And at her particular club or the community she lived in, there was a couple of tennis courts behind her place. And I just kind of navigated to that and really enjoyed the individual thing about sports. I did every sport growing up as a team sport guy. And as I got to the 7th grade and beyond, it came tennis.
Okay. And were your early influences, were any of them entrepreneurial? Or what was your drive to get out, to go pursue? Because a lot of people either just fall into either group sports or they're casual in their sporting endeavors, or they wait till school's done and then they start some entrepreneurial thing. I'm curious these questions. And also, did growing up with a single mom, did that have any sort of impact on your ambitions or drive or desire or any of those things? I'm curious.
Yeah, my mom worked for her dad, and my grandfather was a real dreamer. My mom had a great phrase all the time, and because I would ask for money. I worked at a tennis club where you had to have some money to be there. I saw professional basketball players and professional tennis players and was in that kind of realm. A lot of entrepreneurs were at that gym, even though the entrepreneurial boom hadn't really started just yet. Pre-Microsoft, the city was really a Boeing city, Seattle. And then I had a phrase from my mom that always struck with me. And she said, son, you better make a lot of money when you get older because you're going to need it. Now, I always look back on that and think she could have said, money doesn't grow on trees. It could have been derogatory, but she said, you better make a lot of money. And I navigated towards those entrepreneurs. And there was one in particular at the club that came up to me one day and kind of violated my airspace. I was probably up to $2.75 an hour at the time. And this guy got right up in my grill. His nickname was Sunlight. He was from Hawaii, lived in Seattle, back and forth, half and half. And he said, I'll pay you $5 an hour if you'll be a laborer and work with me this summer. And that was the beginning of learning what hard work was, learning what true ethics were. This guy never skipped a beat on doing everything perfect and always pleasing the customer at a higher level. And so we were at universities, we were at McCord Air Force Base, we were at University of Washington, we were at private clubs, we were at mansions that would have been, I remember being at a 100+ acres state mansion.
What lessons did you learn from this gentleman? What were you doing for him?
So I was the laborer. He was the guy. So I would go and I would mix the sand and the acrylic and whatever color of your tennis court was going to be built that day. If it was green on green, I came home 2 colors of green. If it was blue green, or if it was red green, whatever those colors were is how I came home. But the lessons were amazing. be on time, always work hard. I mean, it was a dirty job, right? I got up to $5 an hour. And our mantra song every morning was AC/DC, dirty deeds done dirt cheap, right? So that's how we started every day. And we had to make sure the weather was good, because you only can make tennis courts outside. If there's rain coming, you got to know. And that's a hard thing in Seattle. So the lessons were never, ever do a job that isn't as best you can do it. He was honest as the day is long. If he was going to pay me for an hour's of work, I needed to work for that hour. It was everything to do with high pressure washing, sitting on a big roller to smooth out the pavement before we prepped it, digging net post holes 3 feet deep with a bell curve at the bottom. You were on a jackhammer for so long, you came home that night and you were shaking while you're in bed still. It was just an incredible experience. And I did that the first year, making $5 an hour.
In the summer.
Yeah, in the summer.
Okay.
Went to Washington State University to play on the tennis team. And school was always very hard for me. And I was there 2 weeks and had recurring tendonitis in my knees. And I would literally just like be in the training room every single day. And I'm here, this 165-pound skinny kid sitting next to these 240, 50, 60, 300-pound football players. And 2 weeks into my college experience, I like to ask all audiences, how many times have they finished college? And I say, I finished in just 2 weeks. And not everybody wants to call it that, but for me, that was the paradigm, is I am a finisher. And that was it. I got $6 an hour the next summer building tennis courts.
So how old were you when he offered you the job?
18, just turned, maybe 17, turning 18.
So from 12 to 18, you're working for between $2 and $3 an hour.
Yep.
Working for the tennis club. So you have access, you have proximity to the things that were going to allow you to pursue your passion.
Yes.
Did you ever get any good?
I would have probably played on the top 6 at the Washington State University team, maybe the top 3. But it was clearly not my path.
Yeah. I mean, some people have either genetic or physical limitations that end up being working in their best interest.
Yeah.
Because if they're able to pivot, if they're willing to pivot into something, take the lessons learned from that and apply them someplace else where they can get rewarded and your body's not getting beat up. One of my son's best friends plays football in the NFL, and so much enormous pressure, because if anything happens to your body, you don't get paid.
Right. Huge.
Anything. You pull a muscle, you don't get paid. Again, they're not in a league where you get guaranteed contracts. Only the superstars of superstars get guaranteed. Everybody else, it's week by week. And if you blow out a knee and you're out for 6 weeks, you don't get paid for 6 weeks. Wow. So the pressure of that got to be pretty enormous. But so this guy finds you, sees you working at the club. Was he a member of the club, or or did he provide service to the club too?
Yeah, he probably did both. He was a member for sure. And that's where he liked to come and practice after he worked every day. He was competitive. His business partner was the #1 player in the Northwest for every year he wanted to be. So I had really 2 great guys, and it was an incredible memory. I never will forget those days. They're incredible.
Yeah. So, what's your mom thinking of this whole tennis journey during the process?
She was always supportive, she always just worked hard. She was supportive. I thought it was very interesting how supportive she was when, I built tennis courts every day and worked hard. And it was just that time of life. I was 19 and I was ready to turn the page. And that's when the great network marketing came into my life.
At 19.
Yeah.
All right. So you're doing this, you're learning from these people more successful than you. And one of the great lessons of life, I think, is finding a way to get around people who think better and are better than you are, and having them pull you up, having them, if you're paying attention, cause you to become a better version of yourself. So that this person probably noticed you because you were working hard and you had a good work ethic. If you were lazy or had a bad attitude, you probably never would have got the job offer. And then from there, you delivered at that job, didn't complain, didn't have a bad attitude, showed up on time, were dependable, learned some good life lessons, learned how to grind. You do that, and he offers you that job at 18. You do this for like a couple
Two
years.
summers. Two
Two summers.
Yeah.
2 summers. And then you get introduced to this thing we call network marketing.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, it's obviously the way that this company liked to build was a lot of people were coached to run ads in the newspaper. And for whatever reason, I love to look at the business and sales help wanted section.
Sure.
And all of a sudden, this ad showed up that was so different, so unique. It said, "Are you making what you're worth?" I live in Beverly Hills, California. I drive a Clanney, and I made $96,000 in the last 6 months in the health and nutrition industry. Supervisory positions available. I mean, I remember every word of that ad. The only thing I don't remember is the phone number.
Right.
But I didn't call it the first day. I was a little nervous about it. It showed up a second day, a third day. And I looked at my mom on the fourth day and I said, "Mom, they must not be getting enough calls. People aren't looking at this ad because the ad's still in the paper 4 days later."
Yeah.
And I called, and it was a answering service. The lady asked me my name, phone number. The gentleman called me back, and he was treating it like a business interview. Like, "What's your business background? What do you do?" And I said, "I build tennis courts, string tennis rackets, do everything in a tennis club." I said, "Look, I just thought if it's legal, I just want to know about it. I mean, this sounds amazing." The gentleman said, "Meet me at the Greenwood Inn at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning." And I did. My best tennis shirt. I had hair down to here. You and I know all about that in the big hair days. And lo and behold, I meet this individual. And I was Eric, it was like literally you knew your calling in life was in front of you.
Like you saw it right away.
I saw it right away. I felt it right away. The adrenaline.
Was it just a one-on-one?
One-on-one presentation, the old flip chart days.
Mm-hmm.
The adrenaline was so wild, and he did such an amazing job because he was able to show pictures in the company magazine of people my age. Like, here's a 23-year-old that's doing well. Here's a 22-year-old that's doing well. And I ran home. I mean, I drove home. It was probably a 10-minute drive, called my mom at work, and I said, "Mom, we are going to a meeting tomorrow night." And we drove across that Seattle floating bridge and went to our first meeting. I remember it was maybe 35, 40 people. I remember sitting in the front 2 seats. And obviously, we'll get to it a little later, but I didn't know who Jim Rohn was. I didn't know who Og Mandino was, but those guys became my mentors. And that's where you sit. You sit in the front 2 seats if you're going to be in Jim's presence and have your journal open. And that was the first day of the rest of my life. And here I am 40 plus years later, loving the journey.
Really?
Yeah.
So I think it's okay for everybody to know you're with New Skin and have been with New Skin for 23 years, like you said.
Yeah.
The first, I'm trying to like deconstruct because I don't know what was the first company that you got connected with the ad.
My wife Marilyn was the first distributor for Herbalife in Canada.
For Herbalife, okay. Yeah. So and this was prior to their big troubles that they had in the 80s.
Yeah, this was 82, 81. She started 82. I started 83, 84. We got married in 83. And then, of course, the big FDA scandal was 1985 when we all gathered on the streets of Washington, D.C. to march. And it was, it was game on.
And it was a very difficult time for them. Obviously, they came out the other side. They fought well. They got through to the other side. But there was a lot of people, a lot of my early mentors. I started in 1988, January 1988. And most of my early mentors had come from Herbalife.
Yeah.
That they couldn't weather that storm.
It was a tough storm.
They found a different home. There was like, they call it the dark ages. There was like 7 years of basically no growth there. And I work with a good number of them, and some of them that were there for 44 years since day one, and going through those times, being able to manage those times. So it's no judgment whether you could or couldn't
Yeah.
manage those times. You had to figure out where you were going to go. But so what were some of the lessons in the early years, just generally, that you learned? I mean, I learned some of the same fundamentals. I think we come from the same school.
Right.
When we started, it was ads in the newspaper. A lot of the stuff you cannot do today.
Yeah.
The presentation flip books with the paychecks, which obviously is not typical. So you're cherry picking, superstar success. The ads in the newspaper that made it look like it was a job, not a independent distributor opportunity. A whole bunch of things, whether it was product claims or financial claims. A lot of things have been cleaned up, which are good for the profession.
Yeah.
I think we're necessary for the profession, but we both come from the school of, run the ads, get the phone to ring, plus do your circle of influence, friends and family, and Tuesday night, Thursday night, Saturday morning,
got it.
repeat. Yep. Tuesday night, Thursday night, Saturday morning, how to get people to look at a tool, how to get people to show up at an event. That's the school I came from, which is the school you came from, which is fascinating. Yeah. So I'm trying to back up 23 years. It's now 2024. So that's 2001?
2002, 2000. Yeah.
2001, 2002.
Yep.
You end up meeting Nathan.
Yep.
Tell me about that meeting.
Well, he was being introduced to a technology, right? He was at the University of Utah and came across a technology that was bigger than life to him. It was bigger than life to the world of supplementation. And he was persuasive. I mean, he was extremely gifted in how to do a lot of things with the thoughts. And he was the first to really crush it in Japan, which was a humongous deal. He just knew that this was kind of like the next window. And so he came on strong, and we were, kind of in a window in my own life, and looking for that next run. I was at a plateau. I was on a plateau, and I was ready to roll again. And we didn't really change a lot of things with the that Thursday, Saturday when that run began. It just had a different product, a different mix, and a different, spiel, if you will. Craig Tillotson likes to use the word spiel all the time, and it kind of got in my head. He likes to spiel.
Right. So this is right after the Y2K, the whole tech bubble, all of that stuff. People are maybe a little disillusioned about entrepreneurship and business, and you come in and say, "Okay, Nathan, let's run."
Let's run.
So walk me through what you can as far as year 1, year 2, year 3. How were the early years? Because you had some foundation of belief in the profession. You had some foundation of some skills in the profession, and maybe some reputation, and built up a little bit of a brand, whatever, in the profession. So, what were the early years there like for you?
It's interesting because at that point in my life, I've had a couple of plateaus in my life, and I find plateaus to be really interesting. I love the book by George Leonard called Mastery, and he talks about plateaus. And I had gone through the early days of success, met my wife, we're married. We go through that process in the early days, like we talked about, from the 80s to the 90s with another company that I was the number one distributor with for a few years. And then Nathan comes in. And there was only two people I ever worked with in my life that had that intensity of a work ethic. And that was Mark Hughes and Nathan Ricks. I mean, Mark Hughes was a man of work. He was always on. Nathan was always on. And I remember we were grinding hard. We were doing, prior to him being in his own private jet, flying himself everywhere, we were like 2 and 3 cities a day. I think we did 90 cities one month between 3 of us. So we were just cranking. And, that old adage that massive action solves all problems, we knew the story was strong. We knew that the results were going to be amazing. And we were kind of ahead of a technological breakthrough. Technology, as you know, is tough. We had a tough time getting started today on Zoom on my end. So it was just insane intensity. He said a couple of things that were interesting to me. We always were driving, and he always had a number, and he always had a focus, and always trying to raise the bar. And I remember we hit 500,000 in volume in our 6th, 7th, 8th month, something like that. And he says, wow, you've arrived. Now you count. Now you really count as a leg in the downline. But there was always the next thing for him. He was massively focused on getting the job done. And we'll talk more about it later. But that's why the 7th affirmation in my new book it's him. It's be a finisher. Yeah. That was his mantra. Let's not start a project unless you're going to finish. And that's really what he was so iconic about.
Interesting. So interesting. I want to ask, and this is kind of a side note. You and I both grew up in a hustle culture.
Yeah.
And it's been glorified for a lot of years. And I've had some friends recently challenge me on it a bit. I just want to get your take. There's a friend of mine, his name is Rob Dyrdek. He has the show Ridiculousness on MTV. He's a skateboard guy. That's his early stages, but he's really an entrepreneur. He's had 4 or 5 television shows on MTV. He's been very, very successful. And we met maybe 8 or 9 years ago, and he might be the most disciplined human being I've ever met.
Wow.
If you ever want to listen to a podcast that is completely unrelatable.
Yeah.
It's called Build with Rob.
Love that.
I would suggest that you listen to it because he decided, and he told me about it when we met, he decided he was going to design his life in a way that he never needed a vacation. That he was going to make his kids a priority, his wife a priority, his health a priority, his faith a priority, his businesses a priority, his core business, and then his other businesses a priority. But he was going to decide how much time he was going to devote to them. And then he was going to do everything possible to examine all aspects to see if he could get more and more and more efficient in the time that he was willing to give it. So I'll give you an example. He has this show called Ridiculousness, which is basically a video clip show on MTV, which is 80% of MTV's television shows is ridiculousness. Crazy. He has a 7-year deal that's worth $1 billion. He just signed a new 7-year deal. He films 336 episodes of that 30-minute television show per year, 336. And if you thought about if that was a huge source of your income, and you think about, and 336, which is almost one a day, take out holidays, it's one a day. Then you'd think you'd have to devote a lot of time to it, especially since it was returning big money to you. He's got it down to under 4% of his time.
Wow.
So he just decided he was going to build a machine around everything. So he just refuses to buy into this idea that you have to like grind forever.
Yeah.
And never have a life. So grind for a season. It's at the beginning, he'd do like one show in 8 hours. Now he does like 8 shows in 6 hours.
Wow.
So he just didn't accept the maxim. So from that, for the past maybe 18 months, Dan, I've thought like, I wonder if maybe this idea because I've been about Success Love Speed and 90-day
Yeah.
run and Recruit 20 and 30 and all of the stuff, right? For forever. And that stuff changed my life. But you can get stuck there too. And
Yeah.
that becomes your identity. And and that's where burnout shows up. And that's where relationships get damaged. And that's where, you become cynical and those types of things. And the second thing is there's very few people that can relate to what you're doing. And they're saying, good for you. I'm happy for your success, but I'm not willing to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
So my question is, I wonder if we can teach people how to be so efficient that they can build a network marketing career that they never need a vacation from and they never burn out of. Because I know the hours that you put in today are not the hours you're putting in then.
Yeah.
That it's a different season. So I guess my philosophy is create a baseline you never need a vacation from, and occasionally spike above it when you need to create a new line or create some new momentum, or you get stagnant or whatever. You can spike above it. What are your thoughts on that? You think that that's nonsense, or you think you have to grind, or do you think you can find? Because I've said, balance is bullshit and entrepreneurs aren't about that and all these different things. And now I'm just wondering, maybe that's my own limiting belief, and maybe I need to be more efficient instead of making up for my lack of efficiency with just massive effort on my own. Do you have any opinions on that?
Well, I do. I certainly have been through all of these different plateaus. And I remember coming home from one of those trips that I spoke of, and I literally stood on the scale in my shower one morning, and I didn't remember where I was. So I know what that level of intensity is. And now it's just shifted to me to where it's just the journey. Like Michener has a quote, that I use in my book and I use in my life. And that is, no one will ever know if I'm working or playing, because I just love the people game so much. I'm so interested in people like you are, and asking me questions and delving on what's interesting and what can maybe the audience learn from that, glean from that. So for me, I definitely have specific days, hours of the day that have this set up for it. But it's like my wife, she listens to me nonstop, and she's like, okay, I've heard this a million times. I think I'll just go in the other room. Like, it's just like, Eric, I never tire from the people. The one thing I will say is the learning curve for me in the last 18 months has been so massive. Like, the exponential growth in my own self-worth is just epic.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
It's same thing for me. I mean, we've been around for forever, and we're just now starting to figure out that self-worth is the key.
It's the key
to your lid.
Yeah.
And figuring out where your leaks are, and deciding how to design your life, which you could have done much earlier, but you chose not to for whatever reason, mostly for self-worth.
Totally.
So yeah, I've made the decision in the last 18 months, I would say as well, maybe the last 2 years, that I'm going to a place that I've never been.
Me too. Same thing.
And I'm not sure who's going to go with me, if any. They might not go with me, but I'm going there.
I'm going there.
I'm going with you. Physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. I'm going there. I realize that I've been playing in the kiddie games for a long time. Even, because we get accolades, people like you and me. We get trophies, and we get pins, and we get flowers, and we get, we get to give speeches, and people want their picture with us, and sign your, please sign my book, or sign my name badge, or whatever it happens to be. We have those opportunities. So sometimes it can subtly start to creep in that you've arrived, and you just ride it out.
And Eric, there's an interesting word that's always been part of my vocabulary that is being challenged in my own vocabulary, and the entire world of network marketing uses it. And I teach it on the first Saturday of every month on a show I've had for 23 years. And that is the word consistency. And I'm challenging my own thought process of maybe I need to rethink consistency. It's like if you and I are going to do the same workout every day for 23 years, we're not doing what we should be doing. We're not confusing the muscles maybe and growing. And so I've just jumped way out of the box. I'm spending more money. I'm investing more time. I have more coaches than anything I've ever done in my life. I can't even tell you how excited it is. Like there is jet fuel running through my veins because I feel like my message has changed my life. And I am very confident it's changing others.
Yeah. So the idea being consistency was always my Achilles heel.
Interesting.
It was my form of sabotage.
Yeah.
Sabotaging because of my own lack of self-worth. I'd get things going, then I'd just disappear from the team for a week or two for no reason. And then I'd come back in and save the day and, get everybody happy again. And then I'd get, as soon as I get on the edge of something, I'd find a way to sabotage it again over and over and over and over. So that was my form of sabotage. But I think what I've learned is a baseline of consistency is important because it builds trust. The team will trust you. They'll listen to you. They'll follow your instruction. They'll be more compliant when it comes to assignments and direction and vision and everything else. If you have a baseline of consistency. So I do think a baseline is necessary.
Big time.
And then from there, spikes of high intensity, spikes of, recruiting a bunch of people or doing a big push towards your convention or launching a product or, getting a new leader or new line launched and successful. Those types of spikes are what worked for me. And the other thing I learned about myself is I'm so rebellious to structured authority, and network marketing will make you even more rebellious to structured authority. I mean, to anything that I'm supposed to do, I don't want to do.
Interesting.
It has to be my idea. If it's my idea, I'm okay. I'll do anything. But if somebody says you have to do this at such and such a time, at such and such a place, even the speed limit.
Yeah.
So the speed limit is a suggestion for anybody who drives the speed limit is a weak. It's almost like they get over in the right lane, get out of my way. I got places to go for no reason.
I know.
So one of the tricks that I learned for myself, like Nathan always had the next thing and you've had the next thing and again, we're reinventing and reinventing and reinventing.
Raise the
There's
floor.
very few people in our world that are willing to reinvent after a certain level of financial success. Yeah. Very few people. Most get comfortable. Most settle in. Most kind of retire mentally and emotionally. Yeah. They go through what I call a success coma. If you ask them, they think they're building, they think they're working their business, but they're not. They're not doing what they did to get there at all. So one of the things that I've learned to use is projects. Everything I do is a project.
Love that.
And whether it's for the day, for the week, for the month, in preparation for an event is a project, creating a training is a project. Everything is a project because I work well with projects.
Love that.
When it has a beginning, middle, and an end, there's a satisfaction in achieving that thing and crossing it off the list. So when you talk about your self-worth journey, how did a lack of full self-worth manifest itself in your life? How did it show up?
So it was 18, 19, 20 months ago, September. I know exactly what happened. My wife and I are at our favorite place in the world. I live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho in the summer. It's just the only place I want to be. I love the lake. I grew up on Lake Washington and Kirkland. I love the lake. I love the people. I love the golf. I love the environment. I love the weather. And I had this selfish moment where I had a big convention coming. I had an 8-year-old granddaughter right here. I'm at one of my my daughter's house right now. And I had a big baptism event going on and a convention in the same week. And my back was kind of hurting. I hate walking through the Salt Lake airport. I just hate everything about airplanes and airports. And I said to my wife, I don't want to go. And she looked at me and she said, you're going. It's your your granddaughter's baptism. It's your convention. And I walked into that convention and I looked on the table. My assistant was behind the table. She was registering people for a breakout deal. This book was on the table, Miracle Morning. The workbook was on the table. And she said, it's $50. I said, great, I'll buy it. It's $50. But I said, I've got a rhythm to life. I've been to 40 years of these events. I said, I probably won't read it. I had already posted about him years ago, but I didn't read it. Lo and behold, I went home from that convention and I turned on Hal Elrod's documentary. And I was all in. That was the moment the plateau was over for me. No one would know that I was just existing. I was plateaued. I was showing up. I was a smiling face. Yes, I could recruit. Yes, I could sell, but nothing like 2002 when I started with Nathan.
So that success, kind of a success coma, going through the motion. It was a success
coma. Yeah. Because I was at my happy place. I mean, I was in my favorite place in the world. Why would I want to leave? I didn't need to leave.
Right.
But like you said, when you turn on the jets to Jim Rohn made that famous comment, go out and make $1 million for not for the money, but for what it'll make of you. Yes. And I believe there's so many levels to unpack on that because I never want to think specifically about that kind of money pressure. I want to think about that kind of creation. I want to think about who I can serve, who I can love, who I can lead, and how I can write and serve and love and all of those things. And so that was the next morning at 5 a.m. for me. And I'm not adverse to getting up at 5 a.m. I like it. I got in my journal and I got to page 20 or 30 of his book and I couldn't go any further. I just kept reading the first 20 or 30 pages and I'm geeking out, Eric. I'm going through my phone and it was a book of the month at our company.
What's the name of the book again?
This is Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning.
Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. We'll put that in the show notes.
It is he's writing the foreword to my book. It is the single greatest acronym in self-help history that he created after having a head-on collision, being pronounced dead for 6 minutes, 11 broken bones, told he would have permanent brain damage. And I'm geeking out on how incredibly simple he made self-help. Because you and I know there's a lot of people that can open up Think and Grow Rich and go, whoa, even Larry Thompson goes, whoa, Think and Grow Rich. I can't even get through this, right? This was so simple. I'm geeking out. 5 a.m. I couldn't wait for 5 a.m. I'm calling everyone on my phone. I'm amping up. So I said, I got to start a Facebook group. Who wants to be on a Miracle Morningside group with me? And so I start that up. And who knows Hal Elrod? I'm calling all of my friends that are, superstar speakers that coach and train around the world. I'm like, does anyone know Hal? Does anyone know Hal? I'm calling Olympic athletes that might know everybody, right? Nobody knew Hal. Finally, somebody said, our friend that wrote Go for No, Angela Waltz, right? She says, I don't know Hal, but I know who knows Hal. And you and I both know it's the who in life, not necessarily the how. So then I met Hal, and then life went to another level. And he came on my show the week Nathan died. He literally was at a funeral as I was going to Nathan's funeral. Thousands of people came for the show. And he then became a close friend. We then hired him to come in and speak. I've just become incredibly fond because you've been around enough of the BS game.
Yeah.
But when you meet genuine, authentic giants.
Yeah, no, I met them both. I met all sides.
Exactly. And they go behind the curtain and they're not the person that was on the stage.
No.
Not having it. Hal is that guy. He's the most genuine, authentic guy because he lives it.
I haven't read Miracle Morning yet. So, and I'm not a morning guy. So okay. I'm going to have to call it Miracle Mid-Afternoon or something. But I will read the book. And I'm curious. This did have kind of a wake-up call for you.
Big time.
I think that there's two phases in a career. I think a successful career, a happy career. Phase one is about accumulation.
Yep.
And we live in an accumulation culture, network marketing.
Yeah.
Rank advance and qualify to get to the on stage and earn this pin and go on this trip. And it's all about us, 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 us. We say it's about the team, but at the beginning, it's about accumulation.
Gotta have it.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
Nothing wrong with that. You should take care of yourself before you can take care of others. But the people who stay in accumulation realize how empty it is. You know, they stay on that boat in Coeur d'Alene and they realize eventually that they're in a coma.
Yeah.
They stay golfing 5 days a week and they realize it's not their life purpose, right?
Yeah.
And those that I know, even all the way up to billionaires that are trying to get the next billion or whatever, when it's about accumulation, there's not really satisfaction at the end of it. Even though life is better, you know, the old saying, I've been rich, I've been poor, rich is better.
Yeah.
It just, there's no question. Wealthy is better than not being wealthy. It opens up the doors for you to do all kinds of things in your life and have an interesting life. And I want to squeeze all the juice out of this life. But the second phase, and not everybody finds it, but it sounds like you found it. The second phase is about contribution.
Absolutely.
It's how many can I contribute to in the time that I have?
Yep.
And contribute in the form of giving financially, contribute in time, energy, contribute in mentoring, contributing in impacting other people's lives, contributing through your writing, contributing through your conversations, interviews, podcasts, whatever, through your leadership, through your example. When you find that fuel, that changes everything. And it has for me. And realize I've been playing in the kiddie games, thinking that I was a big shot. Every time I do, I need to just breathe and get back to contribution. Breathe and get back to contribution. I just want to jump in and say, I hope you're getting value from everything that we do at the Excellence Project. And if you do, make sure to follow us on all the social platforms. If you look up Eric Worre or the Excellence Project, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, everywhere where you get your content on social media. Find us over there. We'll continue the conversation. Back to the podcast. So I want to close the loop on what we just finished talking about.
Yeah.
You talked about going to this conference that you didn't want to go to.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you have a strong wife who is not going to let you play small. Which, congratulations. That's great. Because I'm sure there's many wives that says, great, stay home with me. This is awesome. But she said, no, there's people that out there that need to hear what you have to say. And you find Hal and you find Miracle mid-afternoon, Miracle morning. And it helps to change how you look at where you're going with your life.
Yeah.
How does that all tie in to what you originally said about your self-worth?
So the greatest thing about this process is all of the things that you just talked about was the accumulation phase and the flowers and the badges and the rank ups and all that kind of thing. You just said it. I have neighbors that are billionaires up in Coeur d'Alene, and they can't wait to start drinking at 9 a.m. They have everything is behind them. It's all about just how worldly can I get? Okay. And let's not put everyone in the basket, but you know what I mean. Generally.
No. If it's just about accumulation, that's where it goes.
Yeah.
It's very empty. And it's a cliche. It's like every movie you've ever seen. But if it tips into contribution, it changes.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
And so in my new book called Affirm I or Awakening Who I Am, we talk about each one of my interviews are spotlight stories with people that have gone from the bottom, like really the depths, addiction recovery, diseases that no one has hope that you're going to get. And they all used this I am affirmation. Unbeknownst to me, as I'm writing this book, the I am worthy chapter is a spotlight interview that is staggering. Another interview is a guy that was on $500 a day opiate addiction 11 years ago. And so here's where the change was for me on Worthy. His wife was celebrating him at church one Sunday and said, I want to congratulate my husband for being 10 years sober. And I went right up to him after church and I said, Xander, I said, I've never been to an AA meeting. I would like to go with you. He said, you're always invited. Eric, I have nary missed a Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. When
Really?
you sit in a meeting with people that go through every kind of addiction, it could be sex addiction, porn addiction, opiate addiction, alcohol addiction, weed addiction. The list is long. And there's people that come to that meeting and they do their share in the AA concept. And they talk about, man, I don't know if I'm going to be here tomorrow. That's how rough it is. I don't know if I'm going to be in jail. I don't know if I have my kids taken from me. It changed my paradigm because he said this. My life changed when my sponsor came to me and said, look, Xander, you love business. How about if you partner with God? And his I am affirmation became I am partnering with God. And you could see a transformation of self-worth. And when people believe they're worthy of contribution, at that point, the greatest pinnacle of that, when you go to AA, is you have your chips, yes, but you get to share and you get to be a sponsor. We love the word sponsor in our culture, right? But you go to AA and you sponsor and help somebody else. You raise them up. You be their friend. You're their emergency phone call when times are tough. When you find worth and value in people, I like this phrase a lot. The worth of souls is great in the sight of God. And I just know that I have tried to raise my game and know what worth is. To know, I have another one for you that is compassion. In the Og Mandino company that I've worked with for years, the word compassion is actually the highest valued word mathematically. Compassion and empathy is a big deal. So I've learned a lot about that. And one of the I am affirmations in my book comes from Jude 122. My daughter, who lives by you, maybe 20, 30 minutes away, she has our 14th grandchild. She names him Jude. And I hold him, I look at him, Jude. And the scripture says, Jude 122 came right out of my head. And some have compassion, making a difference. And so to me, I've moved. I mean, I understand the intensity and the accumulation phase. I lived it. I mean, I thought I was all that in a bag of chips. But the reality is we're just individuals every single day. In this particular case, with your show and what you do, you touch thousands of lives. You bring people on that really light up the stage and the audience. And so whether it's one at a time, dozens at a time, or thousands at a time, can you treat everyone equally? I've learned a lot from AA, and I call it an addiction recovery meeting. So to me, worth, I am worthy is one of the I am affirmations. I say, I just made a video of it. I just posted it on YouTube. As a matter of fact, it's just a 7-minute video reminding people that I am worthy. There's a lady in my book that found a survey that she did that women don't feel worthy, loved, or beautiful. And she makes pajamas on the inside. She prints, I am worthy, loved, and beautiful. So I include her story in my book. And so I'm just geeked out on this whole next level of affirming human beings, leading them by example, and loving the journey.
So I got to unpack this a bit. So were you an alcoholic?
Nope.
Did you have an alcohol problem?
Nope. Never drank in my life.
You're just curious of people who are struggling.
Yep. 100%.
Okay. So learning about them and their journey that was not attached to your business.
Yep.
Became a hobby of sorts.
It became an interest in worth, the human soul.
An interest in their worth.
Yes.
Okay.
So to unpack the unpacking, Eric, I mean, when we look at your book right there that you got on your counter,
yeah.
I mean, I didn't know Og was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was writing these scrolls coming from the paradigm of an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And so when I go share, I don't share with anyone there that I'm an addict. I share with everyone, I'm learning so much from the people and what Og shared. So to
Yeah.
me, it feeds my soul.
Interesting. So I still don't quite see how this impacted your self-worth. When I think of my own self-worth journey,
Okay.
I think about that I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel capable. I didn't feel deserving. And because of that, like I was always the self-deprecating guy.
Okay.
And self-deprecating can become self-destructive.
Yeah.
If you keep
Very much.
repeating, I am something that is not good. I'm clumsy. I'm an idiot. I'm this, or I'm that. I'm bad with money. I am is very powerful to your subconscious, as you've learned very, very well. But figuring that out for me and how I was sabotaging because I didn't feel worthy, deserving, or capable. What was that part of your self-worth journey in figuring out what was your worthiness? What were you deserving of? Or was it more about helping others with their self-worth and finding worth in a different level of worth in that?
Yeah, I think it's an appreciation for every soul. And that, when you're on stage and you speak on the stages we speak on, and Nathan used to say, isn't it amazing that we get to speak in front of thousands and tens of thousands of people, and then we get to go home and be with our family, and it's quiet. It's not some LA Hollywood kind of a story, but we have a way of having the time and the leverage to be able to manage those areas of life. It was just this sense of compassion, Eric, for people that struggled. It was a sense of empathy. It was a sense of bringing more reality to exactly what you just said. The words that follow I am is what follows you. And the world is stuck. And what I've been able to work with some of these people that go through addiction recovery is they're stuck in thinking that they are what they used to be. What I've changed my paradigm to believe is that where I'm at in my present completely changed when I made my future bigger. My future is bigger. Now my present is better. Then I can look at my past and think of all the things that have happened in my past, my plateaus, the bad investments, the disappointments, the relationships, the breakups, all the things that people go through.
The lessons, yeah.
My present is incredible today because my future is so much bigger. And my future is wrapped in the next person on the path that I can help change their life, change their attitude, change the I am affirmations, and then help them become whatever it is on their table. What are they wanting to do? Because they're going to be different 90 days from now if they choose to be different. They're going to be different in 7 days from now if they change the I am affirmations. Og said, I am nature's greatest miracle. And it's rare to recognize that. So I think it's a combination of worth and compassion and empathy to answer your question on what they bring to my life.
So I want to get into the power of I am and how to use it properly.
Okay.
Because I still haven't mastered it. Still working on it. And isn't it interesting after living what some people would call a pretty full life that you're still figuring stuff out?
Big time.
I mean,
all of us.
Like, man, the will to, like Jim Rohn said, the wildebeest is born and has to start running with the pack in about 10 minutes. Otherwise, it's going to get, eaten up by the lions.
Yeah.
We're 50, 60 years in and we're trying to figure this stuff out and how we're going to go succeed. But one thing that you said that stuck in my head that has to do with self-worth is I don't treat everybody the same. And I'll tell you why. I've learned that giving without boundaries is damaging to you. to the person who is giving. Because, pardon me, there are takers who will just take on an unlimited level and suck you dry.
Yeah.
Or abuse you. So I don't treat everybody the same. I think of it like if you look like a target, like a shooting target that has concentric circles.
Yeah.
There's the people who are close to me based upon how we interact with each other. Then there's people who, through their actions, choose to not be close to me. Or I choose for them not to be close to me.
100%.
Because I'm not going to treat them the same as I'm treating a good friend that has been a good friend for 20 years versus somebody who is abusing me on a constant basis, verbally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever. So I also push back on this concept of unconditional love, which is controversial.
It's okay. Question all assumptions. Elon says question all assumptions.
Yes. I think love should have conditions, because if somebody is abusive or if somebody is treating you or others poorly and won't change, you can have compassion for the person. Compassion can be a non-negotiable.
100%.
But love, I struggle with loving somebody who would hurt one of my children.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, and people throw these things around like all the time. It's like whether it's treat everybody the same. I understand the concept of what you're saying. I'm not diminishing it. But I am a lifetime of learning has said that you need to be a giver with boundaries. That is the healthiest state that I've seen, is be a contributor with boundaries, and let people choose what position in your orbit around you that they're going to be based upon their actions. And do you align in your values? Yeah. Because if you spend too much time with the wrong values, they'll have an influence on you. It's the old saying, if you dance with the devil doesn't change, the devil will change you. And that's the truth.
Big
so
time.
I'm not gonna treat the devil the same as I'm gonna treat an angel in my life, right? Yeah. So just saying that to say these are some of the things that have gone through my mind as I've been trying to build my life the way I want it, and serve in the way that I want to be able to serve. And if you have anything to add to that, feel free to add to that. But let me ask a question. You can add to it if you want.
Okay.
The question is, what's the best way to use an I am in your life? Because some people like to use I ams as I am going to, I am trying, I am eventually going to fix whatever, versus using I ams as if they've already happened, as if they've already occurred. I am something powerful, right? Yeah. Versus I'm on the journey towards.
Yeah.
Because it feels more authentic to say I'm on the journey towards.
Yeah.
Than it is to say I am wealthy when they can't pay their bills.
Yeah.
It feels like they're lying.
Yeah.
So how have you navigated and helped people to understand how to use that I am without feeling the incongruity in their brain of saying something that doesn't appear to be true in the moment?
Yeah. Back to your previous point, as you said, I'll just bridge it. So the height of maturity is taking full responsibility for yourself. I'm not going to spend time that suck the energy out of me, suck the money out of me, would hurt my kids. That's not what I'm saying when it comes to empathy and compassion. but that's the place that I go to spend that 90 minutes a week, to feel that centeredness, to feel that gratitude, to be able to literally say, you know what, at my most quote unquote worldly successful ventures, I'm really just another human soul. Maybe
Yes.
I remember the height of maturity, taking full responsibility for me, hitting me this 18 months ago, waking up to the miracle morning and saying, hey, for things to change, I got to change. We've all heard that. But to change with intention and know that I means exist, am means with God. Now, if we have no matter what your higher power belief system
Hold on.
is,
Say I means exist.
Exist.
Am means
with God.
With God.
So
me with God.
Yep.
Something.
What follows that follows you. So if it's I'm stupid, I'm fat, I'm lazy, I'm tired, I'm broke, I'm whatever, that is the place that we have to learn to stop. I have this dream, Eric, that someday we're going to have this giant burning party. We're going to take every book that's ever been written that says I am for dummies and literally burn them all, because I don't think God would ever think you're a dummy. You just have to change the programming. There's something called neurogenesis. My wife had Stephen Covey as a professor in college, so I geek out on the organizational psychology stuff. And when I learned about neurogenesis, and you learn that when those new brain cells are working for you every single night, you wake up in your afternoon or in your morning. You know, I have one friend on the journey that's one of the high achievers in the world of network marketing. He says, I love waking up at the crack of noon. Okay. And that's just your choice. But when you say, I am a creator, I mean, look, Eric Worre is one of the greatest content creators in the history of the world. Like, nobody's done what you've done. I remember being with you in 2008, and you told me the Gary Vaynerchuk story, and you told me what you were going to do. And the thing is, you not only created that, but you were intentional, which is in my book, the second affirmation. I am a creator is one. We got to wake up every day and know that we're a creator, we're intentional, and we're present. If we do that, we're going to win the morning. If we can say, I am worthy, you're going to win the day. And if you can say, I am capable, compassionate, and I am a finisher, you can win life and win every project. Like you call it a project. I love that. You want to win.
Can you walk me through what is there, like 7 of them?
Yes, 7.
Walk me through the 7 slowly.
Okay.
So I can try and absorb them. Please.
Number 1.
And is your book out or is it coming out?
It's coming out. I've only put out the videos, the affirmation videos right now. And I just haven't put the book out just yet.
Can people find that the videos?
At affirmiam.com. Absolutely. We give away a lot of
content. Affirmiam.com.
Yep.
Affirmiam.com. We'll put that in the show notes as well. And the name of the book is
Awakening Who I Am. And
Awakening Who I Am.
Yeah. And the subtitle is the 2 words that transform you. And that is I am. And if you look at the history of I am affirmations, it's extremely powerful. My co-author wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So 7 is a complete number. It means perfect. So we selected I am a creator as number 1.
Creator. All right.
Content creation business is $250 billion last year.
Yeah. A creator of any sort. I view creators as artists of whatever it is that they're creating.
Yeah.
A great environment for their kids, whatever. It doesn't even matter.
To your point on that, I like to say my wife is a great creator of memories. Yeah, somebody told me a long time ago that the reason we make a lot of money is to create memories for your family. And my wife is brilliant at it. It's always being a creator for memories. Our kids want to be with us. Our grandkids want to be with us. You know, they want to hang out. They want to learn, experience, and do all this stuff.
So I'm a creator.
I am a creator is number 1.
Number 2.
I am intentional.
I am intentional. I am doing things on purpose. I'm not on autopilot. I am conscious. I am aware. I am intentional of my purpose.
Yep.
My goals for the day, my project, my whatever. I'm intentional. Okay. Number 3.
I am present.
I am present. And the value of that is being wherever you are, be there.
How many tabs do people have open on their phone? How many browsers are open on their computer? How many different distractions are we faced with in this world? Can we simplify it? Yes, wherever we are, be there. Can we
is there another way to say that is I am focused?
I love I am super focused. I love that for sure.
Is that similar to present?
I would think there definitely is some overlap in that. The reason I used present is because
with others.
Yep. I want to be a better listener. I want to be a better listener to my wife. I want to be a better listener to my team. I want to be a better listener to whatever can feed my soul and help that relation, as you talked about earlier about trust. Trust is the number one rule in sales. You and I are never going to buy anything from someone we don't trust. Right. If we're good listeners, if we're present for the conversation, for the meeting, for the podcast right now, we're going to find some breadcrumbs that we wouldn't have if we were thinking about the 12 other apps that are open and where I'm going tomorrow and what concert I'm at this weekend, you know? So I like to live in the moment. And that's why one of I created an 18-minute affirmation video for me in the process. Really fascinating. You love the book.
They can find this on that link that you gave.
affirmim.com.
Okay.
It's also on YouTube. So it's called The Awakening Who I Am Guided Meditation for 18 Minutes. Now, I did not know, Eric. You and I know that a TED Talk is generally 18 minutes. Mm-hmm. But 18 minutes is also nearly 1% of your day, or what someone called the rule of 100 if you do that 18 minutes a day. So that whole idea of taking time every single morning, the neurogenesis has happened, the new brain cells are there. I now am coaching master classes for people to literally start their day with 18 minutes. I am a creative. I am intentional. I am present. I interview top performers like you do. And I ask them, what are the odds of you finding silence for 18 minutes and finding quiet and peace? And Eric, for me, when I got on my kick of affirmations for 18 minutes a day, it felt like 90 minutes. Too many apps were open, man. I mean, I'm just buzzing. Like we're A-type personality people. We're on the go.
To be present, do you need to learn how to be better at saying no?
Whew, that's a great question. I imagine there's an element of that.
Because I mean, you can overload yourself by saying yes to so many things that it causes you not to be able to be present.
It certainly was Steve Jobs, one of his 7 entrepreneurial secrets, right? Say no to 1,000 things. So I think that's absolutely a tremendous insight on your part.
All right. Just curious.
Yeah, no, because I love that.
I'm bad at it. I'm bad at saying no. I say yes too much. And because of that, you know, the people who work around me have to hound me every day that says, you know, there's this open list of promises that you've made that need to be closed. So, all right, that's the third. Fourth.
Yep, I am worthy. So think about the word genshai. Very few people in the world are familiar with the word genshai. You may know it.
Yeah, I do it. I do.
Never treat another person small, right? And it starts with you. So if we're going to start with you, then we can buy into I am. I am. What follows I am follows you. The poet Hafiz said, the words we use become the house we live in. So that's going to add to our worth if we can use quality words. To your point a few minutes ago, I'm not going to spend a lot of time with people that literally light up the screens with F-bombs. It doesn't serve my I am nature. You know, there's a great scripture in Proverbs that says a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in pictures of silver. So I want to live at a higher plane. I want to be always in creative, intentional, present, worthy. And number 5 was a great message to me. I was speaking to a business class at Mission Viejo High School. And I was teaching them about the I am affirmations. And I asked these 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, I said, how many of you use affirmations? This girl raises her hand. She says, I start every morning by saying, I am capable. And I just thought that was a powerful thing for a 15-year-old to share, because everybody watching today has to know that they're capable. That doesn't mean they're there today, but they're capable. If they're capable, then they can program the mind, say, I am capable. It's very, very powerful to know that you're just as worthy, deserving, and capable as anyone else on the planet. But you put the time in, Eric. You invested. You went deep.
Sure. Well, in our world of social media and false realities and filters and everything else, a lot of people think I'm a piece of shit, or
Yeah. Yep.
I'm ugly,
Yep.
or I'm out of shape, or I'm not attractive, or I'm not enough, because of the false realities that are kind of being perpetuated out there by the influencers of the world.
Yeah.
Interesting to be able to kind of find yourself and being okay with yourself while still working on yourself. Just not beating yourself up, being kind to yourself, like you said with Gensha.
Yep.
Don't act in a way that makes you feel small.
Right.
All right, what's number 6?
I am compassionate. That's Jude 122. That's my 14th grandson. That is the highest level of math, according to the Augmentino Company, axiology at the University of Tennessee. Compassion and empathy are really extremely valued
So
words.
you kind of combine compassion and empathy, because
Yeah,
I'm a
exactly.
very high empath. Um,
Yeah,
like
my wife is.
if I go to visit somebody in a hospital, I get sick,
Yeah,
because I'm just highly empathetic.
and I think
Um,
there's time and a place for you to be able to let that go. Right, you have to be able to know that there's compassion and empathy. But
yeah,
my wife has that same thing. Like if one of our kids is feeling it, she's feeling it.
yeah, oh
And so
yeah,
it's a huge deal. I love what you just said about going to the hospital. I prefer not to go there, but I've changed my paradigm on it. And my
yeah, me
paradigm
too.
is, can I serve that person today?
Yeah,
Can,
being compassionate.
yep, exactly. So number
Yeah.
7, you guys
So
ready for the
number 7.
crescendo?
Yeah.
It is absolutely incredible to know that your next workout, when you're struggling and you're huffing and puffing and you want to call it quits, your next project, when you're huffing and puffing and you want to call it quits, when your next book, you're huffing and puffing, and you say, I am a finisher. And when you say, when the Lord
My
says, I am the
my
author,
my executive assistant is listening to this and saying, "Please, God, let him take on this affirmation to be a finisher, so she can get all the stuff off the list." This is the crucial conversation she
this
just
is a
said.
crucial
Uh,
conversation. Another great book. Yeah.
Please, God, let Eric be a finisher.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not in some ways. I need a deadline. I need a project. I need to say no. I need to create boundaries. I need to stop people pleasing quite so much. Um, there's commitments that I make that I don't need to make, that won't make a difference. But if I don't do them, it does have an impact on the relationships. So I'm a finisher.
Yeah.
And my project oriented part of my life, if I have a deadline, it really helps me.
Yeah.
Um, if I don't have a deadline, I find that I need to have accountability in order to be able to be a finisher. To be a
Mm,
finisher when nobody's watching
yes.
is the highest form of maturity for me
Love that.
personally.
Love that.
Because when people are watching, I can finish. I can do anything. I can jump right into that cold plunge, not even huff
Yeah.
and puff in front of a crowd. But if nobody's watching, getting into that cold plunge is a different conversation.
Interesting.
This morning, I got a cold plunge because everybody's in the cold plunge thing.
Yep.
So up until today was a breakthrough. Was the first day that I got into that cold plunge voluntarily with nobody watching, and it wasn't on social media. I just did it because it was a discipline to do.
Love it.
You know what I mean? But being a finisher, that might be my, in video games, there's the bosses that you have to beat to get to the next level. Finisher for me might be that, because I've got like 6 books that are in my head that I need to finish.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing to have one bestseller in the last 10 years, when there's 6 more in my head that also would be, but I've yet to finish. Um, I have a lot of half finished. I have an enormous amount almost there, but honestly, I'm not the finisher I should be, for sure.
But I
That's a
heard
big one
Elon
for me.
Musk was asked that question about all the ideas he has in his head. And he says, look, there's way more ideas than there is time. And so you just have to flesh out, what is the highest value use of your time?
Right.
And that's where I
Right.
thought this book was really that for me. And then I met Dr. Benjamin Hardy, and he wrote 10X is easier than 2X, be your future self now. And so I've really been able to get an unbelievable experience of this crescendo of life books and people that challenge the status quo, like I love that you challenge some of the assumptions that I have. And I love that I can challenge my own assumptions and continue to grow. Right.
Right.
So then what we did,
So
Eric,
again, go ahead.
I was going to say the crescendo of the book was really a re-interviewing of each of the spotlight stories that go with each one of the IMs. And I figured that there was 7 levels of affirmations to take people through, that there's tools that can help them with. And it's really wowed me to know that it's all out there for us if we'll just choose to be that person that's going to go off the plateau. For me, it was the plateau of for years. You call it a success coma. I call it a plateau. And I just now know and have the confidence that this co-creation piece in the book, because I'm going to ask everyone to co-create, because their own IMs, your IM might be I am a finisher, but there might be somebody else that has one that's different for them. And I want them to co-create in the book. I asked them to co-create at the very beginning. Dan McCormick, Ken Shelton are the co-authors, but there's a page for you to sign as a co-creator. And let's go out and change your world now. It's 7 days from now. If you text me back that you listened for 18 minutes a day to get quiet and go through these affirmations and follow the promptings, I promise you're going to send me miracles. People send me miracles from Australia to Africa to England. It's awesome every day.
I love it. I love it. So the Hal's name of his book again is
Miracle Morning, Hal Elrod, the new
Miracle Morning
edition. Yep.
Hal Elrod, revised edition. Find that. We'll put the link in the comments. Your book is called
Awakening Who I Am.
Awakening Who I Am.
The website is affirmim.com.
Affirmim.com. When will your book be available?
We're shooting for
pre-order it.
Late summer. You can pre-order it now, and you can also pre-order a coin. I made a coin, so you have an I am affirmation coin with you, and that is a incredible thing that constantly, because you want, part of the 7 levels of affirmations is you want to feel, and you talked about the different aspects of relationships and feeling, and so I want people to feel what follows I am follows you all the time.
Love that. Love that. Listen, next time we get together face to face, let's dive deep on lessons learned inside of network marketing and how people can become more professional. I want to be respectful of your time now, but thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for these good ideas. We both come from good stock. We both have miles to go before we sleep. We've got people to help. We've got people to contribute to. And I love the framework that you laid out here. I think it's going to help an awful lot of people. So thanks for joining. And I appreciate you. Let you get back to your kids and your grandkids and have a great rest of your week. So I appreciate you, Dan.
God bless. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Eric. Terrific. What a show.
So that's my conversation with Dan McCormick. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please make sure that you forward this to a friend. Give us a like, give us a review, pay this forward, treat yourself kindly. Make sure you're paying attention to your I am statements. Maybe pick up the books that were recommended that you'll find in the show notes of this show. And until next time, everybody have an amazing day. I'll see you soon.